told me stay strong and I asked what's that. I ain't never been nothing, that's why the kid rap. She told me stay up and I told her that's facts. I told her that's facts. I told her that's facts. That's facts. I ain't never let them break my spirit.
Hello everybody, my name's Spark. Welcome to Sparky Speaks, and today we're going to be watching a Tinashe Peter video. Tinashe Peter is awesome, and he is an outspoken advocate for Zionism, which isn't a big scary thing like a lot of people believe it is. Read the Bible and you'll understand. We're going to be looking into the whole Trump and Qatar deal. Personally, I haven't looked into it yet because I have reservations and feelings about Qatar and getting too close with Qatar, considering the fact that they had Hamas leaders in penthouses up there that Israel ended up bombing us, or Israel. But if they're holding on to Hamas terrorists, they're not really our friends, obviously. But that's why I've been really hesitant to watch the videos, because I'm a little uncomfortable. I have supported Trump for about 99.9% of what he's done, and I'm just scared about personally getting in bed with the devil. So, and by devil, I mean Islamists. So let's check it out, and shout out to Tinashe Peter.
Investing much more than $1 trillion in the United States.
I promise myself
True.
that every time I sit in this chair here and I turn that camera on there, that I have to treat this as if I am on the witness stand in a courtroom, where anything that I say will be held against me in the court of law.
Damn straight.
And I am obliged to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God, as if my right hand were on that Bible the entire time I'm sitting here. That being said, it doesn't matter if I'm comfortable with the truth. It doesn't matter if I like this version of the truth. The truth is the truth, and I'm obliged to that truth. Some folks are beholden to a multitude of other things, but, far and few between are, whether we like it or not, obliged to truth. So that being said, I want to get into a conversation that is as uncomfortable as many that I've had in the past, especially when I was having them for the first time. So, for example, when I first really started speaking out, I came out of what I call the conservative closet. And so there was a lot of backlash, ridicule, people threatening my life, etc. But
see, that's what I'm kind of uncomfortable about, because I was in the hip hop world for a long time. So I still haven't came out to my old friends and fans, because I'm really kind of not scared, but uncomfortable as to what they may feel about it. But I'm conservative to the bone. I believe that you cannot be a Christian and be a liberal. Liberalism is standing up for any sin that you can think of. So if you're a liberal, that means you support homosexuality. That means that you support terrorism nowadays, communism, and all of those things are spoken against within the Bible. Homosexuality is not something like I hate you if you're gay, or we would kick you out of church. We as Christians, we love everybody, even our enemies. I got rid of all of my hatred for people, including my daughter's mother, enemies in the past. And getting rid of all of those resentments has changed my life. But liberalism is holding on to every single slight against you. And it's just conservative to the end. All the way, baby.
it was a necessary step to get to the place that I currently am, right? It emboldened me, and it gave me the necessary tolerance for what I was about to be in. So that was step one. And most of the backlash came from those who were on the political left. Now, a little while after, I ended up coming out as an unapologetic, or partially apologetic at the time, supporter of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
As a Bible-believing, faith-based man, as well as somebody who has simple common sense, I spoke out against what was happening to the Jewish people in respect to October 7th and everything that followed. And sure enough,
Has Kyra texted you back?
I don't want to talk about
And
it.
sure enough, Kyra didn't text
How's
me
the math
back.
test?
I got backlash not just from the lefties, but also from what is now considered to be the woke right and is continuously growing, unfortunately, on my side of the aisle. But I think this one right here is probably going to top every single one of them because this one is close to the heart. This one is right at home, even for me. This one is as personal as anything else. Up to this point, I have not spoken out critically about our president, more than just a few things that I've pointed out along the way, which is not actually healthy. I got to be honest about that. Again, the truth is the truth, right? They may have been times where I should have been a little more critical because we all have the right to do exactly that. And this does not mean that you are disloyal or that you want your leader to fail.
As Christians, we are called to pray for our leaders, to follow our leaders, but every human being on this earth sins and nobody is perfect. Everybody makes mistakes, including chosen ones in the Bible, all the way from, why am I drawing a blank? All the way from Moses to King Solomon, who was the wisest man on earth at one point, but also gave himself to sin. We are still called to support our leaders. Even Joe Biden, even though I disliked every single decision that was made with him as the leader, I would never call for his death or assassination. And hatred for anyone is wrong. So if you hate Trump and you are a Christian, that is a sin and you need to repent.
Voted for the man. And if he ran against Kamala today, I would vote for him today, most likely again. If it's Kamala or Joe, yeah. But that being said, look, it would be unfair for me to sit back and not say anything, right? I'm delving into the world of the hillbilly Ayatollah, aka JD Vance, and I will be getting back into the JD Vance conversation likely
Just
later
dance,
today, but I
Vance.
have to address the orange elephant in the room. I got to address a man that I love, a man that I voted for, a man who I threw my entire support behind, a man that I took many of criticisms and even threatenings of my life around, but also a man who took a literal bullet for the country. And I could never be the person who writes off everything because of a moment. But when I see a pattern and when I see that this is the way that things are going, then I simply can no longer just,
You have to
wait
speak
around to
up.
see what happens. I have to say something. And especially as a believer, especially as somebody who truly believes in the true living God, it is my job to, at the very least, warn those around me. If not, if a message can get to our leader to say, look, this is not the path. This ain't the way. It's time to humble ourselves. It's time to do as President Lincoln did. It's time to get on your knees, get on your face and plead with God. Because what you have signed yourself up for and your nation up for is ultimate disaster.
Yes.
Now, yesterday we had the G7 conference, or I guess the leadership summit, whatever it is, I guess formally titled, where many of the Western leaders came together and had a little bit of a powwow kumbaya. But during this time, much of the emphasis was actually around the conversations that President Trump was having with different Arab leaders. For example, he sat down with Al Thani himself, aka the ruler of Qatar, a man who I do not trust, a man who I've done a little bit of due diligence into and continues to show up as somebody who, knows how to play the diplomatic game when it is necessary, but is also willing to use different means in order to sabotage those who he believes to be adversaries, competition, or even enemies, while still smiling in the enemy's face. A little sprinkle of tequila. Now, during this sit-down powwow situation, President Trump made a couple of remarks that rubbed me the wrong way and potentially a lot of other people. For the second time, he stated that if it was not for him, Israel would not exist. Now, the reason I have a problem with that is
I have a problem with that because Israel for many years has definitely been helped and supported by the United States, but they've also developed a lot of their own weaponry and tactics. and they're very, very good at protecting themselves. Donald Trump has a way of being very arrogant at times and saying things that aren't 100% true. So I could see why that would rub someone the wrong way. That bothers me a little bit, but Trump.
Man of faith is because I know that that is not true for anybody. I know that the reason why Israel is still standing is not because of Bibi Netanyahu. I know that the reason why America is still standing is not because of President Trump. God will use a Trump, God will use a Netanyahu, but that doesn't make them God. No man is sovereign within himself. So that was the first thing. And I addressed that maybe a couple of videos ago where it was really just, crying out to say, Mr. President, this is not the way to go. You don't want to touch this one. This ain't the one. Like, you can do a whole lot more with, you can flex your little pride muscle in a lot of different ways and spaces, but you're not about to touch the apple of God's eye. You're not about to get into that one and have zero repercussions. But, I was believing, hoping, and a little delulu that this isn't how he actually feels. And then, of course, we had a doubling down. So that was that. The second massive red flag, I actually get into three. Second massive red flag was a comment around
my warrior of light.
A comment around my warrior of light.
Bear the light.
Syria's current illegitimate president, al-Jolani is what he is usually known by, who is an ex-Al-Qaeda ISIS guy.
Who's a warlord and who is responsible for the death of thousands of people in Syria. All of the Christians were murdered in Syria under Jolani's leadership. Just letting you know.
Who all of a sudden is being hailed as some sort of real world leader because he has a fancy suit and a little bit of a trimmed beard compared to what he used to rock back in his terrorizing days. Actually, technically, he's still in those days right now because
Very
Christians, Druze,
so.
Alawites, Kurds are still being massacred at scale today. There's actual genocides, real ones, not pretend ones like they continue to, go on about in Gaza. Like actual ethnic cleansing happening right now at the hands of Jolani. Now, President Trump made a remark that was twice as disturbing on both ends. He states that Israel should not be, quote unquote, bombing these apartment buildings because there's more than just terrorists in there. And he knows that for a fact, which already is feeding into that blood libel aspect. It's feeding into the woke right and the woke left. And then he makes a remark about how he will likely send Syria into Lebanon to deal with Hezbollah. So he's going to send ISIS and Al-Qaeda to go deal with Hezbollah. Mind you, Hezbollah is a terror group who is terrorizing Lebanese as much as they're terrorizing, actually more so the Lebanese because they're close in contact as they are the people of Israel. Mind you, Hezbollah is also a proxy of, you guessed it,
Iran. Ding, ding, ding. Proxy of Iran. And so Jolani is saying that he wants to use ISIS to take out Hezbollah? Does he really want to take out Hezbollah, or does he want to unite with Hezbollah? Because they seem like they have pretty much the same goals. Jolani seems like the same kind of person who'd be shooting rockets at Israel if he was close enough to do so. Wouldn't you think? If you know anything about the situation, that's kind of what it sounds like to me.
The RGC. So you could probably imagine my level of shock hearing a comment like that, especially since my first true red flag before all of this started unfolding was when Jolani was invited, or the president of Syria was invited to the White House, and they really rolled out the red carpet for this guy. It wasn't compared to the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. They had a full parade for that man. But when it came to Jolani, red carpet out, and they treated him as if he was a serious diplomat, but this is really a terrorist who was on our most wanted list, on our FBI most wanted list. I believe you.
That makes me absolutely sick because the UN supports Jolani and all of the support for Jolani. That man is a warlord and is just responsible for massacres upon massacres. Every horrible thing you can think of that could be done by a military, he's the leader of that military. But he cleaned up the beard and he doesn't look so much like a terrorist. So now they support him like he's a woke new world leader.
Was wanted for upwards to $50 million bounty on his head. And now he's in the White House sitting down having coffee and biscuits. Yeah. So that was the second comment that got my antennas up. The third was around investment. Now, there's been this tall tale that America is controlled by the Jews. Therefore, anytime Israel exchanged any sort of money with the United States, or even not Israel necessarily, but an American organization in APAC, which is like the boogeyman, right? All $9 million a year, boogeyman. Anytime money exchanged hands with America and anything associated with Israel, it was proof of America being bought and paid for by the Jew. Yet for
Ridiculous.
the last decade plus, there have been billions of dollars poured into our institutions. And now Qatar is actually leading the charge, right? As of the last 2 years, there has been more money that has come from Qatar specifically into our universities.
And why would Qatar want to put money into our universities? What would their reason to be to educate American people? I just want to let you know that they're all Islamists. What reason would they have to put money into our college systems, which are very well known to be breeding grounds for extremists? Now, all of the leftists and liberals like to say this is an insane conspiracy theory, but it's just true. Qatar has more money invested in the United States than like any other country. If you put Israel and the amount we give to them, but if you stack Israel, what we give to them, next to places like Saudi and Qatar, it's like Israel is like tiny little piece on that graph. Just letting you know.
And if you look at the entire framework, what has happened to our universities? Have they become more patriotic? Have the kids come out and become more pro-America or anti-America? Are we having more protests in support of the United States, more America first? Or are we having those who are anti-America and burning the American flag? What is happening? Look at the reality.
It's pretty dark.
So, do you think that it is an ally who is pouring billions of dollars into our institutions and turning them into more anti-American sentiment bases, into these indoctrination camps, even more so than they already were?
That's what happens when you send your kids to any college, but major colleges in the United States. They come out radical leftists. They come out activists, basically.
An ally?
I mean, the amount of purple hair that comes out of that place, I swear to God, it looks like a sale on blonde hair shampoo. Y'all blondies know what I'm saying.
And to those who say yes, then I say, why is it that every time you see one of these free Palestine protests, you see American flags being burnt, yet when you see an Israeli protest, you see American flags being waved? Why is that? And the people who try to combat that point, they always, especially on X, they always point to the very same story of the one rabbi who called a black guy a monkey. And I'm like, so we're just going to skip over the fact that there are...
Or they bring up things said in the Talmud, where Talmud is not a rule book for Jews. Talmud is a collection of conversations with rabbis. Some of the rabbis have fairly radical views, but that is not their Bible. That is not their Quran. They don't follow that. It is not what they believe. It's what a small section may believe, but every single religion and ideology has its nutcases, doesn't it?
Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of brown people who not only would see black people as monkeys, but are taking their lives right now throughout the continent of Africa, enslaving them right now in real time. So I hear the comment, the third, and this was really the banger of all bangers. I heard the comment that Qatar will be investing 19, wait for it, 19 what? $19? Nope. 19 million. Folks, these people are going to be pouring 19 trillion with the T. We're talking Elon status. $19 trillion into the American economy.
Abraham Lincoln united a nation that was deeply...
And what do you think has to happen in return? That kind of money does not switch hands without there being some sort of something that we're giving. We are giving something. We are allowing something. Well, first of all, we're allowing our kids to be radicalized with insane liberalism and Islamism radicalism. Wow, I said multiple things right there. I sound like an idiot. But we're having kids being radicalized constantly in our schools. What else comes with that? I place a lot of trust in Trump because Trump has really made a lot of great decisions. But getting in bed with Qatar more does not seem like a good decision. The amount of money that they're putting into our economy, that sounds good, but what are they getting in return?
So imagine this. For the last couple of decades, Israel has been receiving, give or take, $3.8 to $3.9 billion from the United States. More than 80%, some say even up to 90 to 93% of that money is coming back to the United States in order to purchase our goods or, to buy military equipment, etc. And some folks could say, we need to stop doing that. Fair enough. But 3.9 billion is roughly, what's that? That's 0.02 to 0.01% of our GDP.
It ain't
Basically, our
19
yearly
trillion, I'll
income
tell you
as a
that.
nation, right? It's not even a percent. It's not even a percent of a percent. It's a percent of a percent of a percent. So that is the massive scandal, and that's what's focused on year in, year out. And mind you, that's money going out. So even this idea of us being bought and paid for by Israel, which has been debunked 1,000 times over, and those people are silent now because Israel has all but been silenced by President Trump. Those same people will claim that Israel owns America because America's bought and paid for, but isn't bought and paid for when you're the one doing the purchasing. So wouldn't that mean that America technically has bought Israel if they're the ones who are giving that amount of money? Most of these people don't actually process information. That doesn't happen. What they do is they continue to regurgitate talking points, like an NPC in a video game, a non-playable character, right? That's basically what these folks are. So back to the point at hand, 19 plus trillion dollars that Qatar is somehow going to put together. Laura Loomer actually brought up a great point, which is their GDP, I believe, is only like 29 billion or something like that, or 24 billion. So how are they going to get this money together? I believe that they're going to dig into the coffers of the entire Arab League, like all Arab nations. They're going to pull the money together just to show face and to be able to essentially purchase the United States, which it would not be the first time. They've already been purchasing institutions.
God, there has to be something else going on. Donald Trump must know that this is like blood money 100%. That amount to get for them. They're purchasing like fealty or something. It's just scary. All of the decisions Donald Trump has made like up to this point have been very good decisions. But that terrifies me. That absolutely terrifies me. And I just pray that he has an ace up his sleeve. Something. He has to be playing them. Donald Trump knows that they're not necessarily a proxy of Iran, but they're about as close as you can. Iran really pissed him off by bombing them. But also these people are still Islamists, but they're using taqiyya, which is the Islam word for lying when it helps benefit Islam. They have to be using that to buy us in some way. It seems like a scheme, and I swear Donald Trump is smarter than that.
The reason why when you see some of these soccer teams or different organizations, you see Qatar. There was a time when Scamdis Slowens, a woman once known as Candace Owens, sat down with none other than Harvey Weinstein, who is currently in prison, in order to try to get the Jew conspiracy.
Mhm.
And so she asked him who bought his catalog, like who bought a majority of the films that were owned through him and his brother's company. And she was obviously waiting for the Jew. And it turned out that it was Saudi Arabia and I think the UAE or Qatar. It was Arab nations who had purchased. So Hollywood is being purchased by Arab nations. I know that Saudi Arabia has become one of the biggest investors into Hollywood right now.
Okay, great.
More comfortable to have the head inside the sand. I get it. Trust me. I was postponing this. I didn't want to do it, but now I'm at a place where I'm like, look, I have to do it as soon as possible, as quick as possible. Just get it out my system so that the anxiety aspect leaves. Because if I hold on to it, then I feel this inner conflict. I feel the dissonance. I feel the cognitive dissonance, and because I know what I know and I have to say it. And I've covered Qatar, but I've never really.
And God bless him for that. I respect this man so much.
Done it in full context of President Trump until right now. right? I've shown you guys the receipts of how much money is even going to each institution, how much Yale got, how much Harvard got, how much Colgate Mellon got, how much, which is still a crazy name, by the way, how much the Brown University is getting, NYU is getting, Columbia University is getting. Billions of dollars that have been poured into these leftist hubs in order to sabotage the Western sentiment, i.e. the American first sentiment. Folks, they are lying to you. There is nothing America first about it.
I mean, the man is 100% right. They dump money into all of these leftist universities, all of our film companies, our entertainment companies, video game companies, and then you see the results, and everything is leftist propaganda. You have it in all of it, homosexual propaganda. And you'd be like, why are the Saudis, or why is Qatar or Islamists acting like they support homosexuality when it's obviously a sin worthy of death in their religion, and it's called taqiyya? They want to amp up the weakest among us so they can make them think that, yeah, we're going to help you make a communist utopia. And then when the Islamists get into power, you know, the first people they kill every single time, it's the gays, it's the leftists, the communists. That is exactly what happened in Iran. That is exactly what happened in Iran. And we cannot let it happen here in the United States.
This is Islam first. This is the caliphate first. And you've been bamboozled and you've been hoodwinked if you think the Jew. I know look, it sucks to know that you've been lied to. It sucks even worse when you believe the lie and you perpetuated and pushed that lie. I was a New Ager before I came to faith. It sucked to have been bamboozled and deceived, but it sucked even more so to know that I was actually pushing this New Age garbage onto people. I was leading people directly to hell. It's really that simple. I don't have to have a woe is me moment. That's what it was. That's what I was doing. I was an agent of darkness during that time of my life because I was not aligned with the true living God or leading people to this true living God. So,
but that's the beauty of Christianity. Look at me. Of course, I was a sinner. I'm still a sinner. But after being saved, it changed every aspect of my life and the way that I think. Just absolute blessings everywhere. And that's what's so wonderful about Christianity. He takes the meek. He takes the sinner. All we have to do is proclaim Christ, that he died on the cross for us, that he shed his blood for us, for our sins. And all we have to do is accept that and repent when we sin. Because we'll sin again. We're sinners. But that's what's beautiful about it. Repentance. All of us have a story of darkness before coming to Christ. Not all of us, but no, yeah, all of us. We're all sinners.
It's one thing to have the wool over your eyes and to believe that the Jew, right? But it's another thing to have been the person who was pushing those conspiracies, who was pushing these blood libels. You were forwarding the messages, sending the reels. You were retweeting or re-posting the posts. You were recording the videos. You were doing all of this. That's why a guy like Lucas Gage, I believe is his name, I have the utmost respect for. He was like at the pinnacle of this thing. You know, he had a Paul moment where the scales essentially were placed. Well, he really was spiritually blind, actually. And then the blindness that was struck was actually so he could see for real. And then the scales dropped off his eyes. And now he is on his true calling. But he had a Paulian Damascus sort of experience where he was the J-Anon guy. Like he was a honcho in that space. And seemingly overnight, he has this awakening moment to say, what the heck am I actually doing? What is the point of all of this? Is this actually true? Some people haven't stopped to just go, wait, how do I know that this is true? Because when we're talking about
because there are so many things that you feel like you know to be true, that emotionally you believe to be true, and that starts to become part of you as a person. And then it's like, you look and you see the truth. You can see the facts before you and be blinded to them. Be like, nope. Because reality is subjective. When your eyes are taken over by the devil, when you're blinded to Christ, when you're blinded to the truth, when you hate the Jewish people, and you ever question why?
Purchasing of America by Qatar, the UAE, Saudi, whatever it may be, we have actual receipts. We don't have to go into imagination land for that. All they have is look how many Jews are in prominent positions. You know what else I can do? I can say, look how many Germans own alcohol companies. it must be a global conspiracy to turn the country into alcoholics by the Germans. But I don't, because my brain works. Thank God my brain works. It didn't always work this well, but thank God it works now. And because it works, I can synthesize information. I can, dig into the weeds and realize that, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Is that true? Actually, how do I know that's true? I can know that money is being poured into a university because there are receipts. These schools were forced into giving up receipts. A lot of these publicly traded companies, you can see who's pouring money into them. The reason why AIPAC is such a big deal is because their receipts have always been out there. People are having to dig into the Islamic money that's been pouring into our government. Some folks don't even know we have more than 300 Muslims who are currently in office in the United States right now as we speak. They don't know that there are over 200 mosques that have been built in Texas alone. They don't know that. And I'm not talking about the wokest part of Texas. I'm talking about in the hub, in the dirty. I'm talking about.
And they don't understand that mosques are not the same thing as churches. These are more like small sleeper cells. Have you ever wondered why, with the rape gang inquiry over in the UK, why we don't have the good, peaceful Muslims exposing this stuff? Because deep down they support it. Mosques are hubs for terrorism for the most part, and they believe in taking over the West. If you believe in Islam, you believe that your version of the rapture cannot happen until every Christian is either dead or subjugated and every Jew is dead. That's what river to the sea means.
In Dallas, in the Fort Worth area, I'm talking about up and down Houston. They have plans for Florida. They have plans for Texas. They have plans for Wyoming and Iowa and all the rest. They have plans for the hubs of Americana. They have had a 50-year plan, and it is coming into fruition right now. If you think that the Marxists and the communists did a number on the United States, you have another thing coming. If you think the Ottoman Empire sat down and took it at the turn of the 19th century.
But personally, I don't think it's something to be as afraid of, because Americans and American tacticians, and also the right, the silent majority, we're a lot smarter and a lot stronger than these small Islamist cells, even the ones with training. Because you have to realize that they come from countries and their culture is cousin marriages. Most of them have an IQ that is sub 70. Room temperature IQ, below room temperature, ice cream IQ levels.
Oh, sorry, the 20th century. You got another thing coming. If you think it was just over, oh no, we're not interested in the global takeover, the global Islamification. No, if you think that, go ahead and look at your brothers over the pond. Go and check out what's going on throughout Europe, mostly Western Europe, the whitest part of Europe. Go ahead and check that out. Go ahead and check out what's going on in Russia, by the way, because folks, Russia is now getting whitewashed. The scam disses of the world, etc. Oh, Russia. Tucker's out there sniffing bread in Russia. Russia has the largest population of Muslims in the entirety of Europe. Russia is a hub of Islam. Russia, fake Christian Russia. I'm not saying that the Christians there are fake. I'm saying that this ethos of we are Christian, a nation that is ruled by Putin, the antithesis of Christ. He is an antichrist figure. If you want to deep dive, make sure to check out Joe Richardson, Pastor Joe Richardson. He does a deep dive into the Dugin ideology, the man they call the brain of Putin, and what these people actually believe. It is the furthest thing from Christianity you will find. They use Christianity the same way the little mustache man used Christianity when they were really pagans.
Amen. Yep.
Back to the point at hand. President DJT. I am disappointed. I'm very disappointed, but that's my fault because I'm not ever supposed to put my trust in a man, always put my trust in God. I put out a statement yesterday. I said, what we need right now is a Churchill. I didn't mean that as far as salvation. I meant as far as somebody who has the gonads, somebody who has the backbone, that is willing to actually do something about this.
Islamism.
The man who's willing to go, yeah, that guy is not going to stop. Those people are not going to stop until they conquer the entire world and they destroy everything in their path.
That's your goal.
They need to be brought to a place of absolute surrender. Period. And it's interesting to me. Because, the now new anti-Trumpers who are those.
Oh, I just had to jump on a bunch of trash in a big old dumpster to make it so the trash truck can get it. You know? I don't know. If you're not a redneck like me, you don't get it, but I am fat. Holy cow. Out of breath like a moth.
Supposed on the right, the anti-war right, who really call for the destruction of Israel every 5 seconds. So it's not really anti-war. It's just that, it's like if the war is in opposition to Israel, then it's okay. If it's Israel that is defending itself, then, then they're anti-war. But that
It's like when you have rockets hitting your, you realize that every house that they build in Israel now has a bomb shelter in the house? In the house. Thank God. Thank God for the Iron Dome. They need it because Hezbollah and the Houthis, when they were still around, were shooting bombs at them every day. They got all the bombs, but still, just in case you send your wife and your kids into the bomb shelter, you might go yourself too, but just to survive. And most people in the world don't understand what that feels like. What's that like? I don't know what that's like. I'm not Jewish. I've never been to Israel. But I'd imagine that you'd want to fight back if someone's bombing you every day, right? Call me crazy, but generally speaking, if someone bombs you, you bomb them back or you shoot them or something. That's just the rules, right?
coalition, that now gathering of mutants, they've now come together and started to, do the seal clap for this new deal. And the only reason they favor the deal that they have not yet seen, that nobody has technically really seen yet, some are saying that they're, something was leaked or something is out, but they are championing something that they have not seen simply because it is anti-Israel. It is anti-Jewish. That's all there is to it. They do not care that it is actually a deal with the devil that is signing them up for a destruction of their country. Look at the UK. If you think that cannot happen to you in the United States, you are arrogant. You are suffering from a hard case of hubris. You are haughty. Your head is up and it needs to come down. My friend, you are delusional if you believe that the Islamists do not have the same plan and even greater plans for the world power that is the United States as they had for the UK.
That's why they put all of the money into our schools to turn our own children against us.
For Germany, for Belgium, for Sweden.
Imagine being able to build anything.
Imagine
just
being
by
able
thinking about it. Meet Base
to
44,
survive
a complete
being
AI
bombed every
creation
day.
Etc. Delulu. The reason you want to believe that is so you can continue to confirm your already made predispositions, your bias that already exists. That's what that is, right? You want a confirmation bias because you signed up for the Jew, the Jew, the Jew, instead of Islam, 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 which is the reality, instead of communism, communism, communism. And so you've been...
When people are so focused on Israel and they don't realize that the Islamists are the ones that have their eye on world domination. Why would the Jews want to take over the world? They're about 0.2%, I believe, of the whole world's population. So that makes them like a very, very small minority. Why would they want to take over the world when they have so many enemies? That sounds like it would be a tactical misstep. Would you not believe that that sounds like a tactical misstep? Sounds like a tactical misstep, like a bad idea, like you're stupid, like you have stupid ideas.
Fighting the wrong enemy. And you can't stand the fact that you would actually have to reconstitute your entire worldview and possibly, like many of us, have to become an outsider who can think for themselves. It's a hard day when you realize that you may just be the only person, that you may be alone, maybe not in the world, but in your own inner circle, in your own pocket of the world, in your own sector. You may be the only one. Everybody around you may be on the very same nonsense. Everyone around you may be on the very same Jew hate. Everybody around you may be simping for Islam. Everybody.
Thank God I have some people around me that are not. But also I have some people around me that are very much on that page.
Around you may be free Palestine, and you're the only one who sees through this veil. And if you're not okay with that, then you're cooked, because you won't be willing to do what is necessary in order to continue to fight for your country actually. You will continue to pretend that America first is actually America last. That the purchasing of America by Qatar, that the purchasing of America by Saudis, that kowtowing to the IRGC is a good thing, and that pouring $300 billion into them is all of a sudden going to magically stop them from creating more destruction. that all of a sudden they're going to give up their eschatology and no longer care about the global caliphate that they're looking to build in real time. If you think that is the truth, then you are delusional. And if you now are exposed to the truth like you're being right here, and I'm not saying I'm the holder of all truth. I'm not that guy. I'm an anti-conspiracy theory guy. I'm a pro-truth guy. And sometimes,
Yeah.
unfortunately, there are conspiracies within the truth. I'm not the
Yes.
guy who has all the truth. This
The
information
truth
is
is
out there.
ugly.
It's public. If you actually care to read and to look into
Do your own research. Either that or listen to me and me only, because I will never ever lead you astray. Just kidding. Do your own research. Sometimes the truth that you find may be painful, but you must learn the truth. The truth not only will set you free, but it will give you the tools to survive in the future.
things, it's all there. You don't have to go to me or to damn this Slowens to get this information. I'm just simply telling you what is out there and what many others know and understand, including those in our government. Shout out to Marco. Shout out to Pete. Shout out to Ratcliffe. Shout out to Chip Roy. Shout out to Ted Cruz. Shout out to Huckabee. The people who they're now looking to crucify because they're the only ones who are going, wait a damn minute. This is not the way. This thing is the actual detriment. This is the actual disaster. We have been so predisposed to go, the Jew, Israel, that your true enemy has snuck up behind you and already got you. They already got the weapon to your head. You're looking to your friend with skeptical eyes. You're looking to your friend as the enemy. You're in like, let's say you're on the battlefield and you're in the desert and you have been exhausted as exhausted gets. It's been 3 days since you have slept. No water, no food, well, minimal water. Otherwise you'd probably be dead. And you're just dragging through the desert, and you're seeing mirages of an oasis, a mirage. It ain't real. And you start to see your friend, you start to see your comrade, and they look like the enemy. Now, you're pointing the gun at your boy, not understanding that's your, they're up like this. What's going on? What are we doing here? And all of a sudden, the man creeps up behind you, and he's got the thing at your head like this, ready to blow your brains out. Islam has crept through the back door while you were looking at your friend. You have been deluded. You've been lied to. You've been gotten. You've been bamboozled. And if you had stayed in that Bible, if you had stayed in the scriptures, I promise you couldn't have gotten this far. If you were really reading them for what they are, if you were not reading through it in order to get what you want out of it, but to
Tinashe Peter, everyone. This man is on another level. And like he says, I got time today. But not time for y'all. Because this video's over. Go and help me out. Buy me a coffee. Subscribe. Comment. Like. Be my friend. God bless.